My goal is no longer to lose weight. My goal is just to move. How to live longer and better by finding your purpose. I've always thought about this, like, what's my purpose? How can I do better for society? How to face life's challenges without letting stress. I think this is a big one for me that I'm not doing right. I'll work 12 hours a day and then go home and then have dinner and then like open my laptop again and then just keep working. My coach gave me this PDF to fill out, and one of the things in there was Ikigai, and I've heard of it before, I never really looked into it. This book was sitting on my dad's bedside table. And I'm like, all right, this is a sign, I've got to read this. I've just finished reading this book, Ikigai. Now, I actually finished this book all in one day, and this is the first time I've ever read a whole book from start to finish in a day in, a matter of like, I don't know, 4 hours or something, 5 hours. Like, I can't remember how long I took. I was just sitting on the beach reading it. There's a lot I liked about this book, and a lot that made me go, I'm doing a lot of things correct, and there's a few things that I'm doing incorrectly. But it also kind of opened my eyes up a little bit around like how we think, or, what every day is. The gist of this book, Ikigai, is like this Japanese notion of like finding your why, finding your reason and your purpose. And I felt really connected to it in a lot of ways. And the art of staying young while growing old. That's right. So one of the things I really loved it talked about was like food, right? So it's like there's healing properties in food, and in Japan, cities that have like some of the oldest cultures have people living there up to like 110, 120, which is pretty impressive. And one of the things that they mention is like eating well and eating to 80%, not eating to 100%. Like, my background is Indian and we're Bengali, and like in our culture, like food is love, and so you kind of eat to like 110%, 120%, and it's really nice because you get surrounded by family and friends who want to keep like feeding you all the time. But then at the same time, like I noticed myself, like if I'd be like getting a little bit hungry at night, I'd be like, oh, I should eat something. I need to be full. And it's funny, like my partner was always like, you don't need to be full. It's okay to like eat a little bit less. Like, food's not running away. And mind you, I've never had like a shortage of food, luckily. Like, I've been fortunate enough to always be surrounded by food and, not feel that sting. So I liked how it talked about eating a bit less and not overworking your body, your system, so that the digestive system can do its thing and it can work a bit more efficiently. In Japan, they have like small plates of food, and by seeing like 5 small plates or 6 small plates of food, it feels like you're eating a lot more than you actually are. Still getting the nutrients that you need and eating the right things. And that's the other thing that I was like really happy about. A lot of the things they mentioned to eat, we do eat, like we eat lots of vegetables, lots of greens. We have fish, maybe not 3 times a week, which is what it recommends, but like we eat fish, we eat tofu and soy-based products. The Indian diet is fairly healthy. Not going to a restaurant, like going to a restaurant is going to be quite unhealthy, but like what we generally eat at home, like beans and lentils, even like meats, like we put really good spices in there. So I felt really good around that because it kind of assured that what we're doing on a general day-to-day is good and it's right. The other thing that like, it says like the art of staying young while growing old. One thing that it mentioned is that like the people in these villages would always stay active. Like there's no such thing as retirement for them. They love what they do and they keep doing it for the rest of their lives until they can no longer physically move. And while that's maybe an extreme in our Western culture, like I kind of felt like just moving is such an important thing. And like my partner and I were talking recently, and she's kind of like pushing a lot more for gym. One of the biggest things she said to me, which I absolutely loved, she goes, my goal is no longer to lose weight or to, get fitter. My goal is just to move. And so when it said it in this book, I was like, that's really cool. Like this is what they're talking about as well. Just keep moving, keep doing something. Don't just sit around and laze about all day. Or like if you've eaten a meal, go for a little walk or move around a bit. Or if you're working a desk job, like I sit at my desk sometimes 8 hours a day. And just moving every half an hour for a few minutes can make a huge difference to your metabolism. So it was really cool. Like I think like all those little things I can start to incorporate into my life, just being aware of, moving every half an hour for a little bit, just getting off the desk, going to get some water or some tea, and yeah, changing the perception of I need to go to the gym to build muscles or to lose weight, rather than I just need to move my body today. And we're lucky to have a beautiful dog, so I take her for a walk. That's a lot of movement for me. Like we have to give her a good hour of walking, running, training twice a day. Oh, the other thing as well actually is tea. Like we already know, like green tea's got really good antioxidants, but like green tea, white tea, jasmine tea are the three that they recommended. And I'm like, that's a pretty easy thing to add to your everyday. Like we can absolutely do that. How to live longer and better by finding your purpose. I think that one was an interesting one for sure, because like I've always thought about this, like what's my purpose? What's like the point of, what's the point of being here, but like how can I do better for society and what can I do? And I kind of like, I've always thought like, I love to help people. And I think that's one of the reasons why I shifted my business to focus more into the healthcare industry, because people in the healthcare industry are there because they want to do better for others. They're there to better someone's life in some way or the other. And it kind of felt like that resonated with me a little bit more, rather than just picking a random industry, and I also felt like people who work in that industry, I just kind of got along with them a lot better. And so finding my purpose was like, okay, well, how can I help them help others better? And I don't know, I feel like that's still quite vague, and I think I can like narrow that down a lot more into something a bit more specific. And I want to work on that. I reckon over the next few weeks, I want to like ask myself this question maybe on a weekly basis. Like every Saturday I'll sit down for like 20 minutes and just be like, what's my purpose? Has it changed from last week? Has it changed from a month ago? And just kind of figure it out, and maybe give myself like till the end of July, which is about 2 months from now, to kind of have a bit of a better answer. And maybe I won't have a definitive answer by then, but that's okay. Like that'll be a work in progress. But it's got like at the back here, there's like this little mind map that it's got, which is like at the top, what you love. These are all circles. So on the right side, it's what the world needs. At the bottom is what you can be paid for. And then on the left-hand side, it's what you're good at. In between those, it's like passion, mission, profession, and vocation. And then right in the middle is Ikigai, which is like the combination of all that. Maybe I need to like break down each of them into like separate categories and try and answer each one, see what the common ground is between them, to understand better what my purpose could be. I'll show you that diagram again. So this book is actually it's seen better days. So funny story, I'm actually at my parents' place for the weekend because they're overseas and they live near the beach. So I'm like, yeah, make the most of this. My coach gave me this like PDF to fill out, and one of the things in there was Ikigai, and I've heard of it before. I never really looked into it, but coincidentally, when I came to stay at my parents' place, this book was sitting on my dad's bedside table. And I'm like, all right, this is a sign. I've got to read this. So it's cool. It was like, it just kind of felt like everything synced into place, and I was, I was meant to read this. How to turn work and free time into spaces for growth. I think in that chapter of the book, it was talking about, rather than like sitting down and watching TV or scrolling on your phone, go out, spend time with family, or do something that is gonna grow you. And I've always like thought about that, but I've also always gone, well, I need to numb my brain and just watch like mindless TV sometimes, and that's okay too. But also, like this weekend, it was really nice to actually go to the beach and leave my phone in the apartment and not touch it, not be worried about someone contacting me. It was really nice. And like one of the things it talks about, which is like, I've heard this many times, is like, don't look at your phone for the last hour before you go to bed, and don't look at it on the first hour that you wake up. leave yourself enough time in the mornings to get ready and to, have a bit of a slower start to the day, which I'm really bad with. Like, I'll look at the time. If I have to leave home at 8 o'clock and my alarm's going on at 7, I'll just be like, oh, I could probably get another 10 minutes of sleep in or 15 minutes of sleep in. And then I ended up rushing around and trying to get everything done. So I think that's probably something I need to work on a bit more as a more immediate thing. I mean, I have started doing it. Like, I've started going to the gym at like 5:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning. And the days I do it, I feel better. The days I don't, I feel like really guilty because then I'm rushing around and my day is just, doesn't feel like a great start. Find the flow in everything you do. This is really cool. Like, it took me a little bit of time to understand that concept a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Soul. I think that explained it really well. And the funny thing is I watched that movie first before reading this book. And so in Soul, there's a scene where they're in the afterlife and they go to this like area, which is like, think of it like the dark web, right? You're kind of in like a different zone. And then there's people there who are in the zone because they might be like playing musical instruments or they might be doing some activity that makes them hyper-focused on something. Being so hyper-focused on something allows you to hone in on it and to perform a lot better rather than someone who is trying to multitask. And I think that concept opened my eyes a little bit because like growing up, I always thought that it's better to multitask. It's a smarter way to do things. And so my general work day, I'll be like trying to do 10 things, aiming for 15 things to be done. And I'll be like halfway through an email and remember something and start doing that and then do another thing and then come back to that email and then go, oh shit, I started that before, go back to that. And then anyway, so like what this section talks about is that you're actually a lot more efficient and you actually get a lot more done if you focus on one thing at a time. And I remember my first business coach was, he spoke about the rocks, pebble, and sand method. And if you don't know it, like just Google it. It's very common, but it essentially talks about like if you've got a jar, you fill it with rocks, right? Those are the main things that you focus on for the day or for the week. And then you put pebbles in, which fills in the other gaps, and then those are the secondary items that you focus on for the day or the week, depending on how you map it out. So, and then the third element is the sand, where it fills in every other space that it can possibly find, which is the kind of lowest priority things that you do. So if you map out your day to have pebbles, rocks, and sand, or if you map out the week, however you want to map this out, you are a lot more efficient and you get more done. And so I think I really need to go back to doing that because I've got a note I've got a scheduled time in my diary for every single day at like 9 p.m. or something, half an hour blocked out to just map out my next day. And I don't do that, I'm usually sitting in front of the TV or something and I see that come up and I'm like, I'll look at my calendar and like, okay, I've got to shoot and I've got to do X, Y, Z, So I think finding the flow in what we do makes so much sense. I noticed myself like opening my laptop on the weekends a little bit to find my flow in things. And while that was working for me, I was kind of feeling like now I'm working 6 days a week or 7 days a week because I'm not really getting a full day off on the weekends. Yeah, I think I need to really like start to plan my days a bit better. And I've been fortunate enough that I've just hired a new person into our team. So I'm hoping that'll reduce my scatteredness and allow me a little bit more time so that I can have a bit more of a structured day going forward. Oh, this was cool. So like, Masters of Longevity and like words of wisdom from the longest living people in the world. The funny thing was like, there was a commonality between everyone. And I think it came down to like staying active. So like just getting up and doing something and not just sitting around, hanging out with friends, which like, I just remember reading that part and I was like, I'm so fortunate to have such a great group of friends and our group is growing and growing. Like I'm not one to like do much for my birthday, but I organized something for my birthday this time and our group is hitting like 21, 22 people and that's still missing a couple of people. And I was talking to my partner about it and like we're so fortunate that we have such a great group together that we can rely on, that we can talk to about anything, and we know that they've got our back and they've got our best intention in mind. And so like just the people who live the longest have got that solid group of friends. They make the effort. They're not staying at home hidden away. They're going to catch up with these friends. They're going to lunch, or they're going to have tea with them, or they're just spending time. And I love that. Like, I'm more of an extrovert, and my partner's more of an introvert. But I think I pull her to be more of an introvert, and she kind of gets forced into it. But I think it's a good thing. Like, it's great to meet people. It's great to learn new things and see things from a different perspective and not be stuck in your ways. Like, I've got my core group of friends, but I'm always still like keen to meet others and just see what makes them unique and find their purpose. Like, find their why. And like, it kind of leads me into like logotherapy, which is really interesting because my partner's a psychologist. And so last night we were chatting and I was asking her all these questions about it because, like, in psychotherapy, like, psychologists are taught to focus a lot more in the past, in the trauma, what's happened, the reason why it happened, this is the wrong word, like how to fix it. Like, they're not trying to fix it, they're trying to help you cope with it, I guess. That's probably the better way to say it. And then like logotherapy talks about the flip side of things, right? Like the positive of it. So it's like something bad might have happened, but what's the positive of that? Like, what do you have to look forward to? What is something that will give you a purpose? And I think one of the examples it gave was like this elderly gentleman lost his partner, and he was devastated because she was everything to him. And this is obviously an oversimplification of the conversation in the book, but the person giving logotherapy kind of went, well, what would have happened if you passed away first and your wife was left to deal with this? And he goes, it would have absolutely ruined her. Like, she wouldn't have been able to cope with it. And so he was like, well, isn't it better that she's gone first and she doesn't have to deal with that pain? And I was like, yeah, like, I mean, I've always thought like that. Okay, let me take a step back. My partner and I, before we were married, we were always like, I hope I die first because then I don't have to deal with not having you around. And she was like, nah, fuck that. I hope I die first. I don't have to deal with you, going first. And this just, logotherapy and that particular example made me think of that. And I was like, that's like quite, I mean, we were obviously mucking around, but also kind of not. But like, I guess that's more of a selfish way to look at things. Whereas in this situation, he was like, it's better that she passed away so that she didn't have to deal with the pain that you go through of losing a loved one, especially someone you've been so close to for so many years. And so, yeah, like I was chatting to my partner about it and I was like, well, how does that, like, do you incorporate much of that into when you see your clients, and how does that work? And she's like, yeah, like we do, but she's like, we also can't do that without understanding their past. And so she's like, there's a kind of like two ways to it. Like, first you've got to understand what happened to them, what the history was, what the trauma was, before you can give them tools and like ways to look into the future as a positive thing and as a way to grow as a person through it, rather than be stuck in the past around it. And I was like, yeah, that's completely fair. That's understandable. And I guess like these kind of examples in a book like this can be like a bit more of a simplification of what real life is. But it's still a good way to shift your positivity mindset rather than focusing on negative or past or trauma. Oh yeah, we spoke about the Ikigai diet a bit, which is cool. They even said like drinking red wine in moderation is really good because it's full of antioxidants. It's funny because like I remember growing up, my grandpa used to drink red wine like on a daily basis, and he loved it. And so he'd get like this big cask of Lambrusco wine, like a 4-liter cask. My parents would buy it for him, and then like my mum would get a bit worried because like, not that he would get drunk or anything like that, but she's just like, look, you probably shouldn't be drinking every single day so much. And so he was like, all right, I'll keep it to 1 glass a day. And so he goes to Salvo's and he picks this like the biggest fucking glass that he can find. And so technically he's having like one glass a day, but the size of this glass is massive. He like fills it up and is like, and drinks it. I'm like, maybe he was onto something. And my grandpa was really fit. Like he would exercise every single day without fail. He like growing up was as a young, I guess, child, because he lied about his age and he got into the military when he was like 16 or something like that, or maybe younger. And so he's just always had this discipline about him. Like he'll eat X amount of food, he'll exercise every day, he'll, have his glass of wine, he'll, press his, iron his clothes. And he was, I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from him and I looked up to him a lot. And, even at a young age, things that I don't remember, things that my parents told me later on, where like I wouldn't let anyone else take me to the toilet other than him. But I know there's a weird story. I just was like so connected to him, at such a young age. So it was really cool to like see like parts of this book that I could relate to him with, like the stuff that it spoke about, like going back to just friends, right? My grandpa would go to the toilet, he'd come back and he'd know the life story of the guy having a piss in the urinal next to him. And then he'd tell me all about it. And like, as much as I'd give him shit about it at such a young age, I kind of look back at it now and I'm like, how incredible is that? Like, that you can have a conversation with someone in like an uncomfortable situation and you can make them feel so valued that they end up telling you their whole life story within, 5 minutes that you're in a bathroom. I think that's the reason I love traveling, like I get to give myself the time to learn more about people and to spend time with them. Like, I know, living in Sydney, it feels like we're always on the go, whereas being in another environment, like it gives me the time that I can spend to really enjoy this moment. Yeah, exercise and longevity. Oh yeah, how to face life's challenges without letting stress and worry age you. I think this is a big one for me that I'm not doing right, because like running a business is pretty stressful. And I know there are times where I probably let myself get a bit more stressed out than I should. But I think I need to remind myself that like sometimes it's okay if business is down. Like it's not gonna be the be all end all. Like, business will pick up again, or I just need to reshift my focus to something, or I just need to not be so worrying about it. Like there's times where it'll just keep me up at night, or I'll be worrying about something, or I'll be like trying to figure out what the next thing is, or I'll be like wanting to get ahead of where I'm at, or I've got so much to do in the business that I'll work 12 hours a day and then go home and then have dinner and then like open my laptop again and then just keep working. And so it talks about like stress aging you more, and so like last night when I was chatting to my partner about this, because it was like we were talking about like people getting injections, like injectables to like make yourself look younger, and like we both don't really agree with that, because I kind of feel like, well, however you're aging, like be okay with that. It's beautiful however your body reacts to things, but the change that you can make is learn how to manage stress better, learn how to get enough sleep, which I'm sometimes bad with, learn how to eat better, and that can naturally assist in longevity and in like feeling and looking younger, because I don't want to be old and bedbound. I'm happy to be old, but I want to be able to like move around and be able to play with my pets, or play with my family, and be active and do everything on a daily basis. So yeah, I think that was pretty much the whole book. Like, it was a really good read, and again, I think I'm going to focus on understanding my Ikigai a bit better. And I think this will be a work in progress. It'll be something that I'll work on over the next few weeks, little by little, get a better understanding of myself, and yeah, figure out if my purpose is to help others, like how do I do that? How do I fill my bucket by doing so? Or yeah. And I've always said this, like being in the video industry, like we've got such a powerful tool. Like video as a medium is such a powerful tool to share a message, share someone else's message, share a vision. So I want to start using that more for good and create more of these videos. Like I literally went and bought this camera today or yesterday, just on the spur of the moment. Like, because I mean, I've got tons of cameras, but I've got like a little Osmo Pocket 4 or something, I don't know, but it's just so easy to flip it up, start recording something. And so I'm like, well, less excuse to not do more of these. But thanks for listening to my rant. I don't know if you made it this far, then I appreciate you. And yeah, I'll try and create more of these. But read the book, it's good.